welcome back to the Talking Tavern, and this is part 2 of my interview with Hans Chun, who is the DM of the Infinity Tower livestream. Welcome back, Hans.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me back.
What are your own personal influences? What have you grown up watching and enjoying in terms of sci-fi or fantasy?
Okay, so yeah, I read a lot. I haven't been watching television regularly for like over 10 years, so I'm pretty bad at TV. I have seen zero Game of Thrones, but I read a couple of the books back in the day. Yeah, so influences are probably going to be mostly older D&D and an occasional bad movie of one kind or another. I like Doctor Who, and I've seen some of the episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, that can be a good thing. You end up not inadvertently ripping off some TV show.
Oh, I'm sure I do that. I think I end up, not remembering what it would be because it's been a little while since I saw it, and yeah, it's out of my catalog. But yeah, most of my like evening time is D&D prep, maybe a little bit of Minecraft, things like that. And I don't do a lot of. We were talking about prep. I don't do a lot of story prep, but I do build some terrain and stuff like that, and sometimes that takes some time.
Cool. How about in the games itself? How would you describe your DM style actually running the game, and has that changed over the years and developed?
I'm probably just as bad at doing character voices and separating out NPCs as I ever was. That probably hasn't changed. I would like to say I make up a lot of things while I'm going, and I improv, and I just try to roll with where the players are going. I think that works out sometimes pretty well and sometimes less well, but yeah. I would say overall improvisational.
Okay. And most people who stream tend to run over a virtual tabletop these days, like Roll20. What made you decide to stick with an in-person multi-camera setup, and what's been involved in setting up and maintaining that, with help, of course, as you've mentioned?
Yeah, so when we talked about the show originally, the big influence that we shared, Scooter and myself, was Critical Role. And one of the cool things is you have everybody in the room, so the energy is very high. This is no offense to anybody who does Roll20, because I think it's an awesome way to game. But for me, it's always tough to separate out. Everything gets separated out when you watch Roll20, and one person goes, then another person goes. And it's very cool, and I really enjoy that everybody can respect that. That's not my experience playing D&D. Most of the time, we have a table of people shouting over one another while they want to do something that gets kind of like emotional, and I would miss that. I think that's what it comes down to. So the cool thing for Time to Tabletop is we are in Sacramento, California, which is not a huge city, and we've got everybody who's there is actual people who live in our town, and they're playing with us, and it's cool because we can see people outside or whatever else we need to do. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I take your point. It is a lot more fluid, I think, at the minute, at least in person. Time will tell, I guess, if virtual tabletops kind of do anything extra to sort of combat that.
I mean, they're doing a great job. I think Roll20 is great. I know that there's a lot of work that goes into making things look as good as they do, and people do great games on Roll20. For me, I really like being able to look people in the eyes and talk to them in the game and know like how that's going to flow.
Have you run any games on Roll20 yourself?
Yeah, see, no. So that's my fault, right? I should really try it and see if it's better or worse or anything like that.
But yeah, it's easy to watch. There's plenty of streams out there that are Roll20, so I've watched quite a few of them myself. But you run your game with minis, maps, and the scenery, which you mentioned you like to make some of yourself, and the music, background music.
Yeah.
Graphic overlays. How does all that come together?
Okay, so again, I do none of this work, none of the video setup, none of the cameras or anything like that. Scooter sits there with like tripods and paper clips and, all binder clips, all those things, and makes these different like Logitech webcams fit together to take all the shots we need to. And then he's running everything through a computer, and he's making it do way too much processing for what it's meant to do. So he's really like making the most out of everything. We have a really cool partner for the channel, which is Ambient Realms. They're a group, again, they're down the street. I just got a phone call from the guy the other day was asking if I want to come play a game. And it's a guy who makes music for gaming, and he has a website. It's ambientrealms.com. It's a really cool website because you can use all of his pieces online for free. And then what he's trying to drive on that page is donations for Huntington's Disease Society of America and Autism Speaks. I never get that right in one shot. But Yeah, so he's really just trying to drive charitable donations, and I guess he's raised over $100,000 through the platform so far.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's really good, and
Yeah.
I implore everyone watching to check that page out as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's really great.
In terms of using the cameras as a DM, obviously it's been taken care of by other members of the team. But is there anything different in the way you run the game that you have to be aware of these cameras, or is everything taken care of and you get to forget about that and just concentrate on the game?
I do forget about the cameras. That's not necessarily good in the context of the show all the time, but occasionally I forget there is a camera and I'm supposed to be doing something with it. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
On the table, all the maps have to be small because we're doing kind of like, we only have so much space and so many things we can do. So I have to set up maps in a 2x4 area. And it's not super big. This is 2 feet by 4 feet. Sorry, Americans. But when we're doing things, and the hard part is I can only set out so many tiles at a time, and I've got to figure out my room layouts, and I have to be ready to roll with things. When people say, no, now we want to go back where we were. Okay, take everything down, put it away.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's kind of a bit of work, but I mean, how much can I complain about that?
Yeah, exactly. What benefits do you see from streaming the game live on Twitch rather than just putting the recordings on YouTube afterwards, which you do as well?
I think the players and Scooter all do a really good job of getting in there and like talking to people, and they get some opinions on the game and so forth, which is really cool. I am bad at that on Twitch because my computer also runs the audio while we're running the game. So if I get on Twitch and I forget that there's an audio channel going on there or something skips with that, it's a lot. And then we'll end up like looping our audio, and that would be weird. So I typically don't respond in the chat, and I'm going to use that as my excuse. I've just got a lot of things going on, and it feels like one too many to really focus on the game. But I think that's really cool. You could have people that are watching the game, they're chatting, they're talking about how it's going, and then also, yes, YouTube is great, and I actually usually watch the videos on YouTube afterwards rather than on Twitch. So sorry, Twitch.
Is there any difference between the YouTube videos and the Twitch streams? Is there any editing or that goes on?
Well, usually when we go on to Twitch and we do a video, immediately afterwards it's available as a video on demand, but it hasn't been edited yet. Then Scooter goes back in, painstakingly edits it, puts it back onto both surfaces that way. So on YouTube and on Twitch, we'll see the edited video version, and that usually just cuts out our break, cuts out the beginning part when the video is looping, just to make sure that everything's running well. But we don't really do any editing other than that.
Yeah, you want to keep the full content, I guess. And
yeah, which is good because
it seems like a very character-driven game.
Yeah,
Instead
that's
of
fair.
Just a lot of games are purely kind of event-driven, and the characters just jump in and out as player one, player two type of thing to some extent. But
yeah, our players don't like that, so that hasn't been the way we've been running it. Those kind of stories haven't resonated with them, so when we hit those moments, I tend to keep them short and then just get back to what they want to do.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about your blogs. We've mentioned that you write 3 of them. The latest one seems to be the Infinite Ideas. It's a blog where you discuss the big questions about role-playing that arise from the Infinity Tower sessions that we've been talking about. And then you've got the Legends of Today, which is geared around campaigns using the new Open Legend system. Fictions and Fragments seems to be focused on the Cipher system, which is a streamlined system developed by Monty Cook, I believe. Let's talk a little bit about the Open Legend blog. What has got you into Open Legend, and where do you see the benefits of that over a system, say like 5e, which is what you're using for your streamed games?
Yeah, Open Legend is great. I really like it as a system. One of the best things about Open Legend is everything is available free. And up until now, they just recently finished their rules to the point where they're getting ready for publication with them. Until then, there was a lot of community-driven dialogue about how things should work. Are things too powerful? Are they not powerful enough? And Scooter and myself, again, we do everything together. We just hang out all day. We got involved with Open Legend right before the Kickstarter started. And so with that, we've been contributing and talking with the creator and so forth for quite some time and trying to develop our own games. We've run our own games using it, and it's been a lot of fun. I love the fact the system's free. It has a website where you can get all the rules, get your character sheets, do everything you want, so you'll never have to pay for anything if you don't want to. And then additionally, just it has a good attitude about handling the events in a game without telling you how a game should be set up. So you can have a really character-driven game. We have friends who run a game called Longfall, which you can search. It's on Twitch at Twitch Tuxtradamus, and that game is entirely character-driven. They have some very intense personal arcs that are going on, and they just use the system for the stuff they need. And then you have other games where they're very combat-driven, strategic, and there's a lot of strategic elements to the game you can use. And so if you miss some of that from like a Dungeons & Dragons, and you've got that too in Open Legend. So I feel like it fits well across a wide spectrum of games and genres, and it really just requires people to be interested in learning how the system works.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen that some people have put up ideas on how to convert the D&D games to an Open Legend system. Is that something you've considered for your live stream games, or?
Yeah, I actually have considered it. We were talking about it a little bit, and a Real Chaotic Good with Dave Leave, Nazul on Twitter. I was really like, when he said he was going to go from Pathfinder to doing Open Legend, I was kind of torn. I was thinking, oh, that would be good, and so forth. But I really wanted to stick with 5e because I have people who are invested in it as players. It's something they like, and it's something that really interests them. So I don't want to just tell them, well, the game that you're really interested in isn't the game we're going to run anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why we've stuck with 5e for the game we're running right now. Like Allison is an Adventures League DM. She's running games every week in that system. Sean is actively publishing content for the system. And Kat knows the rules better than I do. So between all those people, and Will does fine. There's nothing wrong with Will. But like with all our players, they've done a good job of really absorbing 5th edition. And I don't want to just pull that rug out from under them.
Yeah. How about the possibility then of introducing some elements of the Open Legend system into a 5e game without, say, taking over the rules, but say, for example, the idea of the successes and failures and allowing players to have input on what happens in a failure scenario and things like that. Is Open Legend, do you think, something that has above its core system has ideas and kind of theories behind it that sort of can transport into another game without necessarily taking the entire system itself?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that there's a great idea there in how the game is run, to keep things moving, not to have everybody just keep trying, oh, I want to pick the door open, I want to open the door, I want to open the door. They try to keep things rolling, keep it where you don't need a lot of rolls to determine what's going to happen next in the story. As a concept, I love it, and I would say, yes, I've been actively stealing that for quite some time. So, yes, that's probably in there.